my Unit 12 development in sport. These are some of the things I'm going to be looking about in my slides. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is development in sport. So the first time football was introduced was in China, and it was in 476 BC, and it was a sport called kuju, which was translated to kick the ball with foot. The Chinese stuffed feathers in a leather ball, which they kicked around in a rectangular pitch. At this time, the goal was 2 poles either side, and to score the goal, they had to shoot it through a piece of cloth hung between the 2 poles. As the game became more widely played, royal courts began organising kuju matches played by professional kuju players. Teams composed of women's and civilians participated in tournaments as well. Although women's football was originally very popular in the early 20th century, after an almost terminal decline, it also had been since the 1990s that the game has seen a large increase in female players, as well as in the female spectators accumulating in England and hosting the Women's European Championship in 2005. Then you've got agriculture society. Medieval footballs is a modern term sometimes used for a wide variety of localised football games which were invented and played in Europe during the Middle Ages. Alternate names include folk football, mob football. These games may be regarded as the ancestors of modern codes of football, and by comparison with later forms of football, the medieval matches were chaotic and had few rules. Effects of the Industrial Revolution, 1846. From the 18th to the 19th century, there were major changes in agriculture, manufacturing, mining and transport and technology. These had profound effects on the social, economic and cultural conditions starting in the UK. People were profound effects on the social, economic and cultural conditions starting in the UK. People were forced to work long shifts. They worked up to 80 hours a week, thus resulting in many people being taken to participate in any sport in general and chose to watch sport rather than participate. Not only adults were made to work, but also children, some as young as 4 and 5. These resulted in those people growing up in sport. During the Industrial Revolution, sports developed. More rules therefore became more organised. Some sports during this period have been even adapted into recognised sports that we have today. Then we've got influence of public schools. A change did not come about until the beginning of the 19th century when schools football became accustomed, particularly in the famous public schools. This was a turning point in this new environment, and it was possible to make innovations and refinements to the game. The rules were still relatively free and easy, with no standard from the game. Each school in fact developed its own adaptation, and at times these varied considerably. The traditional aspects of the game remained, but innovations depended for the most part of the playing ground available. If you had to be made of the paved school playground, surrounded by a brick wall, there was simply not enough space for old burly mob football. But things were different in one area of society. In the public schools, the acrostotic pupils had held sway over the middle-class teachers, and they were free to play as they pleased. Nevertheless, parents were becoming concerned about the treatment of youngsters who were under the perfect fagging system. Where putting goal and suffered the brunt of the violence, schools had to take action and face the prospect of parents taking their children elsewhere. A man called Thomas Arnold, headmaster of Rugby School, wanted his pupils to grow up in a more Christian gentleman. He therefore moderated the perfect fagging system and advanced regulating sports which provided exercise and encouraged healthy competition. By 1845, the pupils at Rugby felt it necessary for the first time to write down the rules of football at their schools to establish exactly what constituted fair play. In the rugby version, handling the ball was allowed, but in 1849, pupils at Eton created a rival game. It may well have been an attempt to outdo rugby, but football Eton style greatly restricted the use of their hands. At the end of the year, players from around the country came together to form the Football Association, and the Cambridge rules were adopted. It didn't suit everybody, and the representative from the Black Health Club withdrew because they favoured the rugby style of the game. Now we have the rationalisation and regulation. A change did not come about until the beginning of the 19th century, when school football became the custom. Particularly in the famous public schools, there was a turning point in this new environment. It was possible to make innovations and refreshments to the game. Now we have the FA, so Football Association. The Football Association was also simply known as the FA. and is the governing body of football in England and the Crown Dependencies of Jersey. Guernsey and the Isle of Man, formed in 1863, this is the oldest football association in the world and is responsible for overseeing all aspects of amateur and professional game in its territory. The FA sanctions and competitive football matches within its remit and at national level and indirectly at local level through the county football associations. It runs numerous competitions, the most famous of which is the FA Cup. It is also responsible for appointing the management of the men's, women's and the youth national football teams. The UEFA was introduced in 1954 and 1871. Charles Williams Alcott created the FA Cup, and it's the oldest cup that is still going. Then we have the Department of Culture, Media and Sport. The Department of Culture, Media and Sport is here to help make Britain the world's most creative and exciting place to live, visit and do business. We protect and promote our cultural and artistic heritage and help businesses and communities to grow by investing in innovation and highlighting Britain as a fantastic place to visit. Alongside this, we protect our deeply held beliefs in freedom and equality. We help to give the UK a new unique advantage and global race for economic success. This was the coordinating body for the 2012 Olympics after winning the bid, and they appointed overseas the agencies delivering the games, infrastructure and the programme. We've got the football leagues. 1862, Notts County, the oldest existing league club, was established. The league was first made in the Midlands and it was in 1888. The Premier League was founded in 1992, and then in 1848 a committee of Cambridge University attempted to create a universal set of rules for football. The code later became known as the Cambridge Rules and greatly influenced association football when it codified in 1863. In 1849 in Cheltenham, the first use of 3 official referees in match, 2 in the field and 1 in the tribune. The Referee Association. Before the introduction of whistles, referees indicated decisions by waving a white handkerchief. The whistles were then first adopted by referees. The whistle was then first adopted by referees were made by Joseph Hudson at Mills Munitions in Birmingham, England. The ACMA Whistle Company first began to mass-produce key whistles in the 1870s for the Metropolitan Police Service. It is frequently stated that referee's whistle was first used in the game between Nottingham Forest and Sheffield Norfolk in 1878. However, the last such fixture known to have taken place between the 2 clubs was in 1874. The LMA and PFA. The LMA, League Managers Association, was introduced in 1992, and the PFA, Professional Football Association, this was introduced on the 2nd of December in 1907. The wages that the players won in 1907 was at an average of £4 a week, and the maximum wage of professional footballers now is about 44,000. Then Central Council for Physical Recreation. This was founded in 1935, and this is one of the oldest sporting bodies, and this is the body that supports all of the PE criteria in schools and is there to get the schools to get more PE lessons within their schools. UK Sport. This organisation was formed in 1997, and this works with other home country sports, county sports. They do this so they can attain good sporting success on the world stage. So they help out the distribute funds to clubs that need to help start developing or help them in any way. Sport England. The aim of this organisation is to get more people involved in sport and to keep them involved in their sport, that may be to develop their talent. National governing bodies. The aim for the sport is to be there for all the lower level clubs to support them in any way, if it is to help them deliver programs so that more people start doing sport. The amount of money that they hope to be put in 2013 to 2017 is over £500 million to clubs that have submitted sport plans so they can create more opportunities to others to join a sport that they are interested in. They also put investment into 43 different sports athletes that are developing. Some facts that we have is in 1875 the first crossbar was introduced. This was before there was using string. In 1877 games were 90 minutes long. 1878 the referees started to use whistles. 1885 this was when the football players started to get paid, so they classed as a job. 1891 this is when penalty kicks were introduced and also linesmen were introduced. 1904 FIFA was founded. 1907 the PFA was introduced. 1944 physical education was established. 1965 the English Sports Council was developed. 1966 1966, England won the World Cup. 1992, BPL was introduced, and 1995, this was when the Bosman ruling came into play.
Okay, brilliant. Just one thing, mate. Right, how did the war influence football in general?
This was when it was able to bring the women into play. So the men would have to go out to war, so the women was at home, and when they had spare time, they brought football into it.
Okay, so what happened to men's football during the war?
It stopped as there was no one to play, as they all had gone out to war.
Can you remember a recent event that they celebrated? What happened Christmas Day? The men's football. Can you remember that one? No? Okay. Brilliant, mate. Well done.